see some nods if you can hear it.
There we are. Welcome to People's Church. And thank you, Savannah, for that beautiful recording of your dad playing. May the spirit of this Zoom service provide the hope, peace, joy, and love of our in-person services. I'm Bob Davis, a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We welcome everyone, no matter your age, race, who you love, or how you practice your religious life. Our only request is that you join us with an open mind and open heart to explore life's mysteries and deepest questions. In our services, we use all sources of knowledge that are available to us, works from the major world religions, philosophers, scientists, and artists. We welcome you to share your thoughts and observations and feelings with us, but request that you considerately reflect on the expressions of other congregants. I will discuss later about your opportunities to today share with us your thoughts. This summer, our services center around the observation that we are in this together. Our speakers reflect on the subject for about 10 minutes, and then we break into small groups to discuss related questions for about 20 minutes before joining with a closing song and words. Today, our music director, Savannah Ramsey, will be reflecting on strength in virtual numbers. Savannah is a graduate of Western Michigan University with a degree in music education. By now, most of you are savvy with Zoom meetings, but not to worry if this is your first time. If your internet connection is poor, the recorded service will be available by link tomorrow on the church's website, and usually is technically better. Optimizing your Wi-Fi bandwidth at home by shutting off other uses and pausing the video recording yourself may also help your reception. You may be able to decrease the resolution of your video display as well. Please communicate via the chat box found at the bottom of the screen if you have comments about the reception or wish to participate in the Joys and Concerns section. We have muted everyone except for the speakers to minimize extraneous noises. You can unmute yourself during the small group discussions. Now we have one announcement from Reverend Rachel. All People's People are invited to join the Isaac virtual journey to DC for racial justice. This virtual walk, run, roll started yesterday and continues until September 20th. In addition to logging your distance and seeing how far we travel as a community, there will be inspirational messages about racial justice from local clergy and other leaders. Please see the church's weekly email or the Isaac website for more information. As a personal note, I was inspired to log 4.5 miles walking yesterday on their web. And now our opening words. These are by Monica Jacobson Tennyson. Heart of our faith. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make the change, to ask the question, to take the journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together. And now, come, let us sing with Savannah.
Good morning. First, we are singing Meditation on Breathing. So we're going to start with the low part, and it goes, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love. Keep going. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
All righty. Each week at People's Church, we light a chalice during our service and take time to reflect upon its meaning. Please enter in the chat box where you are lighting your chalice as I light mine in Portage. Words today are by Erica Hewitt, Bold and Courageous Together. With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power. We accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. People's Church and People's people support one another in good times and in bad. One of the ways we do this is by taking time to share what is important to us during this part of the service. If you wish to share a personal joy, a life milestone, a concern, or a grief, please type it into the chat box that you can access at the bottom of your screen, and I will read it. Please include your full name in your message, particularly if your Zoom name is just a phone number or a nickname. I will pause the recording while we do this in order to maintain confidentiality. And offering hope for peace and new joys. We'll now have a moment of silent reflection for the joys and sorrows that were spoken and those that were left unspoken, both within our community and within the wider world. some additional messages are available to you in the chat box. People's people are generous in many ways. They give of their time, talent, and treasure to many worthy organizations and to this church. The money helps support our hardworking staff and our church facility, where we hope to meet again one day. Please take a moment to make a note to yourself to check that your pledge is up to date, or to visit our website to make a donation. There's a donation link in the chat box. We'll now pause for a musical reflection. Please join me in reciting our words of thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone. And now let us sing again with Savannah.
We are not our own, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who Let us be a house of welcome, living stone upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
We have two readings today. The first reading is Beyond Ideas of Wrongdoing and Right Doing by Rumi. Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Our second reading is by Kenneth Patton. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us to restore their images in our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. Their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies, and the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another. And now Savannah has some reflections for us.
All right, good morning. I'm going to be talking about a video game. Hope that's not too boring for you. And how it has created and aided in the development of community in its own game world and in real life. So in the summer of 2019, Nintendo announced the newest installment of their popular game series, Animal Crossing. Actually, I'm going to screen share this for you so you can see. Let me try this again. Arguably, the last true installment to the series was released to North American audiences in late 2012. And so to say that this game was highly anticipated is a bit of an understatement. Fans had been begging the company for any word on the new game for years, and no reliable leaks had managed to make their way out. After Nintendo released the gameplay video, people immediately came together to talk about it across social media and on discussion forums in the groups that had already been formed thanks to the popularity of the previous installments. This game series has a history of bringing people together, and the tradition has so far continued. I'm going to try and screen share this so you can see. I don't know how well you can see that. That's sort of the look of the game. Cartoony, kind of sweet. What is it about this game that made it so highly anticipated? It's what's known as a life simulator, which is decently self-explanatory. Players live their virtual lives day to day in real time. Fans couldn't glean much from the video we were given, but if it followed its predecessors, it would include fishing and bug collecting, cultivating a garden and breeding rare colors of flowers, designing and decorating your home and community, supporting the local museum with donations of artwork, and building friendships with the animals that live alongside you. The game has goals to work toward, but the individual experience is literally whatever the player wants it to be. The trailer had reviewed a few new features that the fans had expressed interest in when playing previous games, so there was a lot of speculation about what fan-suggested features might be implemented. Personally, I think the game is a success because it's fun, but also I think its release date had something to do with that. It was March 20th of this year, which came before masks were commonplace, but after 6 feet and maximum occupancies were being enforced. And as it remains almost 5 months later, the future of togetherness was uncertain. Enter Animal Crossing New Horizons, a cute new entertainment vehicle where you escape your troubles by flying to a deserted island and starting a new, happy life for you and a rotating cast of animal companions. More so, the game is designed to play together with your real-life friends, or really whoever you can find on the internet. Suddenly, although the real world was shutting down, there was a new way to be together, and players were flying to each other's islands the very first moment that they could. There was a lot to figure out about this new game, and players set to work immediately. Groups instantly formed to collect and distribute information, as the game guide was delayed due to delivery companies being understandably preoccupied with shipping of essential items. Players were not afraid to share their experiences and ask questions of each other, or to simply show off their islands and design ideas. These communities, located on websites like Reddit and Facebook and in Discord, the chat program, were welcoming and enthusiastic and comprised of people who likely did not have anything else pressing to do with their day given the circumstances. As time went on, more specific services and websites began to crop up. A website to sell and trade your items with any player anywhere, affectionately named Nookazon, which is a portmanteau of Amazon and the name of the game's main shopkeeper, Tom Nook. Another website dedicated to buying and selling the game's version of stocks, which are turnips. It's called the Stock Exchange, STALK, and I couldn't move on without telling you that because I think it's pretty cute. A prominent Twitter user data mined the game with the help of some others and developed a site that allows users to figure out what their weather is going to look like based on the weather you have, which is perfect if you want to avoid rain or want to know if there will be a meteor shower in the evening. Lastly, there are the pattern websites dedicated to sharing patterns between users. So not only do I think the game is fun with the perfect release date for the perfect isolation activity, but the player base was actively coming together to make the game less mystifying and more fun just for the sake of it. The final piece in the popularity puzzle, I think, is the fact that it is incredibly shareable. It's considered in the game world to be very aesthetically pleasing, and it was very popular to even simply talk about the game. And it seemed like everyone was doing it. Even celebrities were doing it for fun. It was also eventually popular, as you might imagine, with any creative effort, but especially with one so widely distributed and anticipated, to speak negatively about parts of the game players were dissatisfied with. Around Easter, an in-game event became so universally hated that Nintendo rolled out a patch for the game that changed the event to be less unpleasant. Later on, a popular YouTube personality discovered a spelling error that he deemed egregious enough to start a petition about, as well as contacting the company to ask to fix it. While this was all a little tongue-in-cheek, the group effort worked and the error was corrected in an update. This precedent has made complaining collectively extremely commonplace, and although many what they call quality of life updates have been made, things that make the game easier to play, many more remain unaddressed. The players were not only willing to come together in-game, to make their experiences better, but as a place to virtually meet, it became a tool for protesting real-world events. Mid-April of this year, as the citizens of Hong Kong were protesting in favor of democracy, China decided not to approve the game for distribution, shutting down common import avenues and region locking the game so that it would not play on Chinese consoles. This, of course, just created a thriving black market for imported cartridges and systems from Japan, further depleting a supply that had already been practically exhausted by all the folks who were planning on being inside for a while. Although not the most savory community to have formed as a result of the fascination with this game, it is yet another example. In order to search for and purchase the game, we now know it was given a fairly inconspicuous code name, which is Macho Man Picking Tree Branch. It's not entirely clear where that name came from, but the best guess anyone has is that it describes an action you can do in the game, which is picking up tree branches for making tools, and perhaps a reference to the main character of another game that was released on the same day, which is called Doom, D-O-O-M. I don't know much about this game, except that it's a remake of an older game. It's very, very violent. And if my partner's yelling at the TV is any indication, it's also extremely frustrating. A far cry from Animal Crossing, which is typically a serene and relaxing experience. Still, the fans of both of these titles were so thrilled for each other that they were finally getting these games that they wanted, that the groups sort of combined for a period of time into a mutual appreciation endeavor. Artists from both camps were producing art of their beloved main characters together, usually engaging in behavior one would expect of the other character. This is what that looks like. So, I don't know, perhaps he's a macho man. It was interesting to watch these two disparate communities merge in this way to create a new one. But anyway, the players in China, not to be discouraged with their game being banned, found a way to play. As protesting in person was potentially dangerous, they moved part of their efforts into the game, dressing their avatars in all black as a sign of solidarity, and using the relatively safe virtual space as a means of organizing and as a way to make their voices heard. It was and is common to visit an island with a banner reading "Free Hong Kong, Revolution Now," and that's what this looks like. Often this is accompanied by pictures of the politicians right here who introduced the offending measures, which guests are encouraged to hit with their bug nets. In the game, that's a way to show your distaste for someone. This isn't the only movement that found its way into players' designs. Here's the next one. It was and is still commonplace to see these symbols emblazoned somewhere prominently on cliffs or on their custom clothing, as you can see. Many also had calls for justice in the deaths of people like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Still more called for systemic change, such as defunding police departments. That's what that looked like. Many smaller groups were brought together by the game as well. As large group gatherings were banned, people held their weddings and graduation ceremonies on their video game islands. So here's a sweet wedding I found from Singapore. A happy couple there. And some graduates from the University of Michigan. All right, where am I? Even PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, tried to urge its members and followers to use the game to encourage players to not utilize the parts of the game that they deemed cruel to animals. Sorry about the quality on this one, it's the best I could get. It says fish belong in the ocean and empty the tanks. So I guess the point of all this is that it was sort of fun to watch all this develop in real time and watch this game that ostensibly is for children, for all ages, kind of turn into this outlet for people who were stuck at home in this crazy time. Yeah, it was the perfect thing people needed at a very imperfect time, a way to reach out. So yeah, that is all from me for today. Hope you enjoyed this tour of a video game.
Thank you, Savannah. We'll now join into groups of 4 or 5 people. And we have a couple of discussion questions that are listed in the chat box. First one, are you part of a virtual community? How did it come about? What does it do? And the second one, do you have any similar stories of communities coming together, virtual or otherwise? After we've talked for about 20 minutes, we'll come together back as a big group for a closing hymn and closing words, followed by an optional 15-minute Zoom social time. If you're a bit shy about talking to strangers like myself, I encourage you to stick around and participate in the discussions and stay for the social time. As we've learned, keeping a community requires people to see each other and hear each other. Names and connections and faces are important to maintain our church community. And so now we'll start joining into groups.
All right, it looks like we've got most people back. So if you'd all like to join me in singing our closing song, come sing a song with me. Here we are. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Yeah, it gets up there. Here we go. Dream a dream. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Next verse is Walk in Rain. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Last verse, share a rose. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Thank you.
Our closing words are by Amy Morgenstern. Until we meet again, may all our hours together be blessed as this one has been. Be open-hearted, sharing, learning from one another, and making beautiful harmonies together. May we greet everyone we encounter with the same acceptance and grateful kinship. Until we meet again, blessed be. And now I invite you to stick around online for 15-minute social time.